This episode of the Fiction Writers Podcast is brought to you by the Novel Notebook. With each character and each setting, hundreds of details must be compiled and organized. Far too many for a writer, like you, to keep them cataloged in your brain. The Novel Notebook provides the answer. Visit www.fictionwriterspodcast.com/novel and quickly discover how to organize your materials and take your novel to the next level. Welcome to the Fiction Writers Podcast with Lana McAra, where you will discover tips, tricks, and ideas for fiction that is #unputdownable. Here you'll find new energy, new perspectives, new resources, and new ideas that will spark your creativity into a blaze of brilliance. It's easier than you think. Be sure you visit our website at www.fictionwriterspodcast.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now, get out your notebook, tune in, and let's get started.
Hello, my name is Lana McAra, and welcome to the Fiction Writers Podcast, tips, tricks, and ideas for fiction that is #unputdownable. Today, I'm delighted to welcome to our broadcast, Jess Elliott. Now, Jess, you call yourself several things in several different ways. So tell us what you would like to be called.
Yeah, you can call me Jess. I publish under J. Elliott. When I first started out, I just like the sound of that. I think it's got cool alliteration, and I wanted to distance myself just in case for some reason. I don't know. I just not quite a pseudonym, but yeah.
Yes, I understand. So Jess has written 3 novels in a funny Buddhist theme type of setting, cozy series set in Florida, which is where I am too. They're called Monkey Mind, Monkey Heart, and it's a Haint Blue Christmas. Love that title. Inspired by her passion for classic ghost stories of the Victorian Edwardian era, she has published 3 collections of spooky short stories: Ghost Light, Tales from Kensington, and Other Macabre and Unsettling Offerings, and Uncanny Stout. Additionally, she's published a ghost story novel set in Japan, Jikobuken, on Kindle, Vella, and in paperback. And that just made some list in, what was it? That's
with the Goodreads books set in Japan.
Goodreads, yes. She's a frequent contributor to the Writers Alliance of Gainesville blog page, Hogtown Quill, and an illustrator for 2 online horror fanzines, Yellow Mama and Black Petals. Welcome, Jess.
Thank you. Yeah, I just finished Jikobuken. Just got books. I'm going to take... Oh, I hope my camera's doing okay. Maybe it's reversing it. It's my first ghost story novel, which was kind of exciting. And I wrote it on Vella, and I have to confess, I took it down due to complications with things. But writing on Vella was an interesting thing because you write in installments and then post them. So it's sort of like, I kept thinking of it as being set in concrete. Once you write a chapter, that's done. You can't go back and mess with the plot. You have to just keep going from there, which was the first time I've been that disciplined about writing. And it was interesting. It was a different style for me because I'm usually a pantser.
Oh, okay. Well, even as a planner, I'm a plotter, but I still go back and fix things. I mean, my first part of the book is constantly being tinkered with as I branched further and further down. That'd be challenging.
It was, but for some reason, I had a fairly clear idea of what was going to happen. So, I went back and did some minor editing, but for the most part, as I was going, I felt very sure about, okay, that was good. Now we're moving on.
Mm-hmm.
Which, Monkey Mind was written with Monkey Mind. I don't know if the camera is being crappy. I was back and forth. I was like, okay, I want to write this chapter because I have this idea. Oh, but wait, I'll go back and do this one. Oh, but wait, this could happen. And it was chaos. I don't know why. Turned out great, but I think maybe that sort of went along with the whole theme of Monkey Mind because I definitely did not have any linear process for that at all. And I thought writing the second one and the third one, Haint Blue Christmas, I thought it was going to be short and I thought it was going to just be funny and I could get it written quickly. None of that happened except for the funny part. It was all over the road too because I kept thinking, oh, it'd be really funny if I did this. Oh, wait. And it wasn't any shorter, but it's quite funny. So it worked out. It all works out. It always does. But
So what got you started with cozy mysteries to begin with?
well, I was interested in Buddhism, and there are plenty of how-to books out there, how to meditate. But I was like, okay, well, how about something in fiction? And there are very few books that I could find at the time. I started in 2014, where there was Buddhism in action in a fictional setting. And the few mysteries that I could find were really pretty grisly and dark. And yeah, there was a Buddhist undertone, but I was like, is there anything that's a little lighter or funnier, kind of like a cozy? And I thought, well, if I can't find it, I'll write it.
Yeah.
I gave myself a year, and I was like cranking along, but it actually took me, I think, 2.5 years to finish it. And then I was like, okay, I got this. And I allowed myself enough scope that I'm working on plotting out number 4, which will be Monkey Soul. And so, yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
You started a cozy series as well.
Yes, I've been writing cozies for 30 years.
Okay, but you kind of branched out and went all in different directions, because you've even got a cookbook.
Yeah. Yeah. That was one of my problems in my early career was I was so scattergun that I didn't really create a solid brand for myself, which is something I teach my students now to lock in, create a brand, which you've done a great job of. The Hedonistic Hound, beautiful branding on that. I love it.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you.
So cozy mysteries are my first love, but writing a paranormal cozy, I never even went there or thought of it. Not that it is like entrenched in the paranormal, but it does have a ghost, and the people there are, tarot readers and psychics and all that. So, but it is lighthearted, because cozies are light, right?
Right.
Yeah, yeah. So, how did you get your main character Haint Blue?
Oh, well, I had read a bunch of like, okay, how to write books and how to create characters and whatnot. And one of them said you have to have a character who has something quirky, something different, something that stands out. And I had just read a cozy mystery. Actually, I guess it was more of a hard-boiled mystery where the detective had one leg. And I thought, well, I don't know anything about that, but I have very little pigment. And I thought, okay, it won't be a huge stretch for me to write somebody who has albinoism and has to have, also my eyesight's not the greatest either. So it wasn't that much of a stretch to say, okay, well, we have to worry about the sun, and we're in Florida, which is a problem. And that her eyesight is difficult. So she's got a vein, she wears colored contacts. But in the first one, that comes into play where she can't see very well without any kind of help with either glasses or contacts. So that just sort of came about. And then because she had albinoism and she was born in, I believe it was, it's been a while, South Carolina, as a premature child, and she comes from a Russian-Polish background, there was no way the nurses can pronounce her proper name, which was Helena Bluziska. And she was so white that they said, well, she looks like a haint, which is kind of like a haunt. And so between that and her last name starting with Bluziska, they just started calling her Haint Blue, which is actually a color spectrum. And Sherwin-Williams has a paint color called Haint Blue, which goes from periwinkle to sort of a pale blue. And the idea was that spooks can't cross water. So in certain towns in the Old South, people will paint their porches Haint Blue, hoping that the spirits can't cross over the porch to get into the house.
That is such a fascinating fact. I never knew that. I was blue porches, but I never knew what.
Yep, like Savannah, some places in New Orleans. In fact, here in Gainesville, when I bought my downtown house, so it's in the historic district, it had to paint Haint Blue ceiling and floor.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was true in Natchez, Mississippi. I lived in Natchez for a couple of years. But it was also in the antebellum old homes. They would have the blue floor on the porch. Whoa.
Yeah.
That is very cool. I love that. I love that.
Yay.
Yeah. I'm going to be speaking at the Gainesville Writers WAG.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, in October. I just wanted to mention that to you while we're together because
Oh, great. I'll be sure to be there.
I only live about an hour away.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what do you like the most about writing?
I love the creative process. I love that aha moment when get so inspired about, okay, this is the scene I want to write. Or when, like, I wrote a ghost story that I had the concept, but I didn't know how I was going to finish it. And I had mirrored twins where one was all evil and one was all good. And the evil one really scared me. And it took me about 6 months to figure out how I was going to resolve that. And that whole time, that evil twin was in my head. And I didn't like that at all. And I believe I was out on the lawnmower at one point when it just came to me of how I was going to resolve it. And it was all I could do to run in the house and typey, okay. And then it was like, oh, thank goodness she's not in my head anymore because we're done.
Yeah, yeah.
So that inspiration, I think that creative spark of like, okay, I have to get this out, I have that in other directions. I tend to be artsy fartsy as well. So I've been known to garden in a bathrobe or to be painting in inappropriate clothing just because I suddenly was like, oh, that's it. That's what I want to do. And I don't really prep very well. The science people, they'll get out their proper bib and they'll get out the tools and the measuring stuff. And I'm just already going. I'm like, whoa, okay, I'm on it.
I have that happen to me at 3:00 in the morning. My eyes fly open and I got to get to the computer, whatever state I might be in at the time. You don't want to lose it. You don't want to lose the inspiration.
Right.
Oh,
Yep.
So what's your lead?
Editing and formatting. I think it was my first ghost story novel, Ghost Light, that I found out there was actually a glitch in Word. And I spent 2 weeks trying to get the pagination and the headers and the footers right. And every time we thought we got the kinks out, then we'd upload it and it would revert back. And I was like, and it turned out there was some glitch in the actual Word program. And when we found the, what do you call it, patch and ran the patch, that all of a sudden it worked again. I thought I was ready to beat my head against the wall and just give up. I was so frustrated. It's like, I'm this close.
Yeah.
Boy,
do I understand. Yes, I've been there too. Yeah. Working with technology, it's not doing what they say it's going to do.
Right.
We don't have that happen as often now. They've cleaned up a lot of the code and all that. But yeah, those things are really challenging. So tell me a little bit about the supernatural now, because you like to write about, supernatural stuff. So have you had any actual encounters or spooky stuff happen?
Yes. I've never actually seen a ghost, but I lived in a very haunted house for a while. Fortunately, the ghost was, if you're familiar with the Andy Griffith Show, it was kind of like living with Aunt Bee.
Mm-hmm.
The very first time that I walked in the house, I felt like there must be somebody in the next room. Can you sort of tell when a house is occupied or when it's empty? It always felt occupied. And a lot of people would come and just sort of look around like, is there somebody else here? No, it's the house. Unlike some hauntings where maybe the ghost stays in the closet or the ghost stays in one room, no, she was everywhere. If you were in the living room, she was maybe in the kitchen. If you were in the kitchen, she was maybe in the living room. She was all over the house. But she would do things like play with water faucets, toilets. She didn't like the way I did laundry, so she would stop the wash cycle and flip the lid up. And when the machine actually finally stopped working and I had to call in a service technician, I said, so what causes the lid to go up? And he looked at me like, you stupid blonde. And I'm like, no, and he said, why? Why are you asking? I'm like, never mind. He's like, no, this is not an expensive machine. And there is no function that would make the lid go up. That's not possible. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
But she liked one of my renters. I lived in the house for 5 years and I rented it out for 10. She liked one of my female renters and actually folded laundry for her, which was cool.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That is cool. No wonder you have a little bit of a bent toward that direction. And
I think I always have. It was sort of like a low-level path towards spiritualism in a way. I was born to atheists who just like, oh, that's a lot of crap. There's nothing to it. And I remember being very young and looking at them like, no, you're wrong. I feel that can't, no. And if I could prove that ghosts existed, if ghosts are real, then there is something that happens after. It's not just you die, that's the end. And I couldn't really sort out what that was, but if I had some proof that there's more than just what we can see, then that's really cool. And so I think I approach it in my writing in two directions. I do it kind of on the meditation part, but I also do it on the spooky part, that hopefully there is something that we just don't have the wherewithal to understand in this life. But maybe when we cross over, it all makes sense, like some of the folks say they do when they have near-death experiences. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah. The reason I wrote the Englewood Medium like I did is because I had that experience when she was putting in the curtain rod and the screw wouldn't go in. And all of a sudden she felt her father's energy and it went in. That really happened to me. And
wow.
Yeah, that really happened to me. Now, I didn't turn around and he was standing there. That didn't happen. But all of the rest of it happened. And that's really what spawned the idea of having a ghost in the story. Yeah.
Okay. I wondered when I was reading it, like, okay, well, if she's a medium, but yet this seems to be her first experience, why? Now it makes sense. This is the beginning of a whole arc. I gotcha.
Yes. And as the series progresses, she's going to.
Right. Nice. I thought that was probably what you were about, but that confirms it. Yes.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Isn't it interesting how our real life experiences end up in a novel? Do you have that experience too? Stuff that happens to you ends up in the novel? Yes.
There's quite a few little situations in Monkey Mind that came straight out. I mean, I changed names or in fact, one of them is I mention in the book, and this truly happened to me, and as I lifted it straight off of life, is in Florida, it seems that, we do have sanitation and stuff, but in the country, so few people want to take their stuff to the dump that when you buy property in the country, you have no idea what's in your ground. And I was told from somebody else that they knew of somebody who'd put a shovel in the ground to start a garden and they hit the roof of a car. I mean, you just never know. So I'm living out in the country, and the weird things that I've dug up. And my boyfriend actually moved into a house. I won't tell you where, but he put a shovel in the ground. He hit bricks, 3 layers deep and 3 feet wide and 6 feet long. He hit the second layer and was like, "I'm not playing. No, I'm not doing this." Covered it back up.
Didn't want to go there.
Yeah. So that made it into Monkey Mind. I just lifted that one right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So truth is stranger than fiction. And when I come across that, or somebody tells me a story about what happened to them, if it's intriguing, it goes in the journal. It's going in the journal. Life is my playground.
Oh, definitely. And I will ask for permission usually and say, "Do you mind if I use that?" But if it's something I just observed, say in a restaurant or something, then no. But if it's somebody that I know, I will ask for permission, because it's just like, that's too good.
Yes.
I use that.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. That was a story my sister told my mother and I one day about. She went to the car wash and she put money in the the thing. It was one of those serve yourself and had this big brush with the foam. And she didn't realize that it was on a timer. So she put in 4 or 5 quarters, and then she's soaping up her car and soaping, and the whole thing looks like a marshmallow. And she ran out of time, and then she didn't have any more quarters. And she couldn't get any more. The thing was broken, and she couldn't find anybody to help her. And so she had to put on the windshield wipers with foam flying and go down the street to the ATM and get some money and go in somewhere and buy something, get some quarters, and then go back and rinse her car. So
oh, that's so funny.
when she was telling us that, I was laughing so hard I couldn't stop laughing. I thought, that's got to go in a book. That has got to go in a book. And it is. It is in a book.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. I could have never thought that up on my own.
Well, I have a friend. I changed her name and stuck her into Monkey Heart, but she is a self-professed crazy cat lady. And if we go out to a restaurant or something and she starts talking about what's going on with her cats, she just doesn't filter. And I kind of look around at the other people at the tables, and I'm thinking, I'm really sorry. And one day I was like, okay, I'm writing this into the book, and I brought a tape recorder and I set it down on the table. I said, just go, tell me everything. Tell me, she, in a restaurant, she'll talk about giving a cat an enema or something. I'm like, I cannot believe it. Oh, but it's in the book. It was perfect. I just talk. Go ahead. Click, play.
It's all material. It is all material. Nobody's state. So you just wrote a book set in Japan. Now that interests me. Why Japan?
I was my high school roommate and we went to boarding school. After college, she went over to Japan. She taught English. She came back, and we were living in New York City. I was on the west side. She was on the east side. We used to meet in Central Park, and she was working for a company. She wasn't very happy. I was working for a publishing company. I wasn't very happy. And we were like, okay, well, what are we going to do next? And we talked about Peace Corps or something, but they won't send just friends. You have to be a married couple. So that didn't work. And then she said, well, I'm thinking about going back to Japan. You want to come? Okay. I knew nothing. You know how usually if somebody says pink elephant, you get an idea of a pink elephant in your head. I had nothing. I knew nothing. That's a word to me. I don't know what that means. But at the time, this was 1990, you could get an open plane ticket. And so I had saved up enough money and I had my open plane ticket. So if everything went south, all I had to do was make it to an airport, open my ticket and say, get me on a plane. I can go home. So that was my safety net. And I ended up teaching in Japan for 3 years. So the book is set in 1990, the winter of 92, 93. And I was there at the time. And I set it there because it was before cell phones and technology. So at that time, traveling, you were on your own. You were anchorless. I mean, if you could, sure, you could call home, but it wasn't like having an instant thing where you can Google directions or you can figure it out. I mean, it was the Wild West of just travel. You get on a plane, and then where you are, you have to figure it out when you get there. It's very nostalgic. Like you were saying about you put a lot into it. This book kind of had me revisiting that whole time period, which was in a lot of ways idyllic. I was just out of college. There was a safety net. All I had to do was work, pay rent. The rest of my free time was my free time. It was like playing at being adult, and it was idyllic. It was really fun. So it was wonderful to revisit that, but then put it into a spooky book.
Yes, that is really fascinating.
Yeah.
Now, I had a question that just came to me. If it's set in the early 90s, would that be considered contemporary or historical?
Gosh, I would have thought that historical would have to go back farther, but then I forget that the 90s was as long ago as it really was. I'm not sure.
Like 25 years ago, 27 years ago. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that because I think historicals actually go back to the 50s, maybe 1950s. I'm not sure. That would be an interesting question to research because our technology is changing so fast that even 2010, is archaic today.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, iPads were just either new on the scene or hadn't been brought in yet in 2010. So, yeah, interesting, very interesting. So, how long has your book been out?
I think it just went live about 2 weeks ago.
Oh, wow, I didn't realize it was.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to, I know I need to do the ebook, but again, that's back to the what do you hate formatting. And, when you do an ebook version, it takes away all of, because I won't use a bad word, but I love fonts. And so I picked out specific fonts that I wanted in the book and I have it formatted with the pictures. I illustrated, I think there's got to be like 30 pictures in Jikobuken. And so if you do an ebook, then you have to kind of redo all of that. It's going to wipe away your fonts. It's going to change your formatting. You probably have to re-upload every photo because it doesn't like it for some reason. It's just a bear, and I just don't have the energy to do it. I will. It has to happen, but I dread it.
Totally understand that. I have dealt with Amazon on some smaller projects before. What about audiobooks? Have you done any audiobooks?
I have not, and I would love to get Monkey Mind in an audiobook. I think it would be really fun. I don't think it should be my voice. I don't particularly like my voice, but it would be a lot of fun. Have you done that? Have you done audiobooks?
I haven't done any myself. The publisher did one of my books in audio, so I do have some on Audible, but not. I'm working on the Englewood medium right now, reading it into audio, but I'm going to hire an audiobook company to edit because Audible's very picky about the quality of the audio and that kind of thing. So you really need an audiobook company to at least edit if you don't get a professional reader, to read it. So that's in process. But from what I've been told, audiobooks make up 50% of Amazon's sales. So doing the audio is, really could be very profitable for an author to do. So I've got my mind on that. That's why I asked if you had done it or if you had someone that does it or anything like that. Yeah.
I haven't played with that. I guess I was sort of oblivious to the whole Audible thing because I'm a bit of a tech Luddite. I don't even have a cell phone, so like having to Bluetooth something so you can listen to. No, I have a CD player in my car. I'm old.
Yeah.
I need somebody to like handhold and get me a little bit farther along with the tech so I can do that.
Yeah. It costs about $2,000 or $2,500 to get a book read into audio. It is amazing to me how expensive it is to get these steps done with, publishing. Even if you're publishing with a publisher, there are things they won't do that you need to do. And audio is one of them. So, yeah, that is part of it. But I love audiobooks. I listen to them in the car when I'm driving. So, yeah. So what's on the horizon?
Yeah, I feel like because I'm still in the CD world, but people aren't putting them out on CDs anymore. So it is definitely, and the libraries have them, but the physical media stuff is going away in libraries. I feel like it's all turning into downloads, and I need to get up to speed, and I'm not.
Right. Because I'm listening on the app on my phone. That's how I get them. Yeah. I subscribe to Audible, so I pay a certain amount a month and I get 2 downloads a month, which is plenty for me. It takes about 10 hours to hear a book read, so yeah, that's way more than I would drive in the car in a month, usually. Yeah. So what's on the horizon for you? What do you see as your next project?
I have plotted, well, I've done so much back work on Monkey Soul, but I haven't even started chapter 1 yet. I've got the book cover designed. I've got maps. I've got because this one, all right, let me backtrack a second. Each book is slightly different. I don't know if you've ever seen the Rosemary and Thyme murder mysteries where it's two gardeners that they go off to do a professional gardening thing and they always find a body in the begonias. And you kind of have to think, well, who would hire them after 3 murders? Nobody's going to hire them because every time they show up on the scene, there's a dead body. So that makes no sense. So I didn't want to get that formulaic with Haint. I thought, okay, well, let me try. The first one is more or less a straight up murder mystery. The second one is more like a French farce where people aren't where they're supposed to be. And there's so much sort of obfuscation you have to figure out. Is somebody actually dead and we haven't found the body, or is there some misunderstanding, or what's going on? And then the Haint Blue Christmas, there is a tiny mystery, but there's no body. It's just trying to figure out, okay, well, what happened to Buster? Where is he? Because we don't know. Now I'm shifting gears and I'm going to try to do a locked room mystery, which they're very complicated.
Yes.
Because you have to have what really happened, and then you have to have what it looked like happened, and they have to map over correctly. And so I have to have 2 different timelines and the backstory of this, but then what really happened, and that's a lot. I've never done this before, so that's kind of, that's what's taken on my time.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense, because when you have a puzzle to put together, sometimes, you need a little mulling over time to get that done. Yes, I've done that. I haven't done a locked room mystery, but I've done that kind of thing many times, and they are challenging, which is one of the reasons why I love writing mysteries, because I love the challenge of the pieces and the red herrings and fooling people, and it makes me laugh, when I'm writing. They're really going to get sucked in on this one.
Yeah, actually, when I did Monkey Mind, I wanted to be fair. I wanted to make sure that it would be possible to figure it out, but I also had to throw in the red herrings. So I didn't know who the killer was for a long time. I kept writing it as, well, it could be this one, could be that one, could be this one. I'm not going to tell you. And then I had picked a killer, but then I kind of liked him too much. So I was like, I can't do that to you. I'm sorry. So I had to change it, but it still made it look like it could be him.
Yeah.
So that worked out great, but I was about halfway through and I was like, oh, I can't do that. So yeah, I had to change it up.
We get so emotionally attached to the characters. We like them. We don't like them. We know they have to die. We don't really want them to die. We grieve when they die. Yeah. It's so.
Yeah, actually, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, that's okay. It's totally weird, but we love weird.
Yeah, so in Monkey Soul, the gist of it's going to be that Haint is running her meditation retreat in Florida, and her love interest is a cryptozoologist who studies and tries to debunk as many of them as possible, the stories of Bigfoots or Loch Ness Monster or whatever. And he's gone off to a cryptid convention in Idaho. And so at the convention, his booth is opposite this guy that's not very likable who ends up getting killed. And so Buster's going to look like a suspect, but he's going to have to sort of stay in Idaho. But meanwhile, Haint's going to be hosting a group of mystery writers. And so while the cops are investigating the situation in Idaho and Buster's staying over there to try to prove his innocence, he's going to somehow relay information back to Florida. And the writers are going to be like, hey, wait, but did you think about this? Well, if I was writing this book, then we'd be like this. And so actually they're going to solve it before the cops in Idaho do, which I think is kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's going to be a little tricky with the 2 locations because we've got the different things happening in Florida and the different things happening in Idaho. So I got to make sure everybody's like, okay, don't stay with me. We're going to figure it out.
Yeah. Bring it together in the end. Yes. Jess, this has been amazing. So what would you like to leave with us? Maybe, a link, because most of the people listening listen on audio only. So we have to speak out, the link or whatever that you want to leave us with, your website or anything at all.
Okay. My main website is Hedonistic Hound Press. And my main character, Haint Blue, has her own blog. Again, I kind of wanted to distance myself, just not to be putting my face out there. So I have her cartoon character. I hope that's coming up. Can you see? Why is my computer being so bad? There we go. There we go.
There you go.
Okay. So there she is. And she has her own blog called Haint's Retreat. And it's anything that happens in Haint's world. It's sort of old Florida. I've got recipes. She has movies that she likes, things about like invasive species of plants that she'd had to deal with at a retreat, because I've got them everywhere. I've got everything. Mm-hmm. So anything that might touch into Haint's world is in her Haint's Retreat.
How do you spell Haint?
Haint.
Haint. Okay.
And there's no apostrophe in the Haints, even though it's a possessive. It's just Haint's Retreat.
Okay. HaintsRetreat.com. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Right. And Hedonistic Hound Press is my moniker. And what else? I'm on Facebook and Instagram primarily. A little bit on LinkedIn. But if you search for Hedonistic Hound Press, I'll come up.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you so much for being with us today. This has been a great conversation.
Yay. Thank you.
I'm looking forward to seeing you in Gainesville sometime soon.
Yes. And hopefully I'll make it over there to the next Sisters in Crime. I'm going to miss, May? I'm going to be out of town, but after that I should be home. So hopefully I can show up in person in June.
Oh, that'd be fabulous. I would love to see you there. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. See you next time.
All righty. Thank you.
And thank you so much for being with us today. My name is Lana McAra. See you next time.
Thank you for tuning into the Fiction Writers Podcast with Lana McAra, where we share tips, tricks, and ideas for fiction that is #unputdownable. Remember to visit our website at www.fictionwriterspodcast.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Fiction Writers Podcast.